Hey, it's Christopher, and you're listening to the super fantastic, above average, racing spectacular. Hey, we're here again. NASCAR Cup Series off week, road course, left, right, turns. Next week at Sonoma. Cup guys get a much-deserved off week. Most grueling schedule in all of sports. I know people balk at that. They call NASCAR's not really a sport. They're not really. Our drivers really athletes. Debate that's going to wage on forever and a day. It's been going for quite a number of years. I think they're athletes. That's just me. You don't have to like that opinion. Well, you might like that opinion. I don't know. But they are athletes. I think to race for 400 or 500 miles, 36 weekends of the year, take some great physical conditioning, sometimes in extreme heat. The track temperatures are ridiculous at times. I think they're athletes. I think they're some of the achievements is not quite of what an MLB star, an NBA player, or quarterback in the NFL, but I'd still say they're athletes and don't get the just due they deserve at times. So the Penske JGR flipping back and forth, that's pretty much the storyline of 2019. No exception at Michigan. Joey Logano cruises to win number 2 on the season, keeping pace there. Getting a little heat on his teammate Brad Keselowski, who's 3. So Penske making a great accounting for themselves. Other big news we're going to cover on this podcast. Lots of news. Very busy week. Iowa, the Xfinity Series Truck Series racing at Iowa on Sunday. Double dip. See what happens there. Big news in the trucks. We'll talk about that later. Interesting topics for debate. So let's get started. And Logano. We talked about Joey. Win number 2 for Joey Logano. How about that? And I was talking about that a week ago. It seemed like he was on the cusp of it. He was just almost there, but not quite there. So great that he gets the win. Win number 2 for Joe, the guy they often call Jolo. Well, this is YOLO for Jolo, right? So this is a great race. It was postponed by rain on Sunday, so it didn't run on Sunday afternoon. I know you saw some footage there if you watched in the broadcast from Fox. You had Corey LaJoie and Bubba Wallace doing their best, I guess, Cam Newton to Greg Olson or Devin Funch's impersonation, but it was good. It was fun. I had a little fun. I believe Austin Dillon might have been in on that too. I can't recall, but nice to see those guys. Actually, no, maybe it was Daniel Hemrick. That's who it was. Never mind. Teammate. So having some fun with the football on Sunday to raid up the rain. So this is the second time Logano has won in recent years on a Monday. So it's kind of manic Monday for Joey. Nah, he likes them Monday races. Garfield doesn't like Monday, but Joey likes Monday. So there's a lot of criticism about the start time of this event. 5 p.m. I know it was called ludicrous or lunacy by some people, but I like the 5 p.m. start time simply for the fact if someone who, let's say, had tickets for this race gets rained out on a Sunday afternoon, people have to work. They have to put in their hours. We have bills to pay, obligations. A 5 p.m. start time allows those people to go to a race as opposed to, let's say, starting it at 1 p.m. Then either you have to forget the race or make other arrangements to attend the event. I like it. I mean, the track didn't have lights. I get that. Had there been other weather issues, I'm not sure they could have finished the race in the darkness. But nonetheless, it happened. I think they have to shorten the schedule. I think, in my opinion, the schedule has to get shorter at some point in time. 36 weekends a year, absolute lunacy. Give these guys more time off. You get 2 off weekends a year. It's just not enough time, and I think this is a grueling schedule. And I know that the height and the popularity of the sport is there now. The new format, there's a demand, there's a hunger for racing. People want to see tracks that are not even on the schedule get a date. There has to be some kind of compromise soon, and I think in this event on Monday afternoon was the right call, 5 p.m. I like the start time. think it gave them an opportunity to really make sure the track was dry. If there was any impending weather issues that could have threatened even the race on. And Michigan's famous for that. Remember back in August of, I'm going to say 2007, where the race was delayed 2 days and ran on a Tuesday afternoon. So Michigan, not exactly the greatest place for weather, but I think maybe to avoid some of these weather delays, and I know you can't, but restructuring of the schedule is not a bad idea in the future. Putting some of these events maybe later in the summer. I know they have a second date there coming up in August. I'm not a big fan of MIS. I never have been. I think it's one of my least favorite tracks on the circuit. Perhaps maybe eliminating one of the dates come 2021, but the schedule really changed a lot in 2020. I think that's going to be a test, a dry run they're going to try. See how that works, and I expect more modifications to the schedule in the coming years. I just think things are going to change a lot. I'd like to see Canadian date on there. Montreal used to have the Xfinity race when it was known as the Nationwide. They have the Canadian Motorsport Park, which has the truck race in Bowmanville, just outside of Toronto. As a Canadian resident, I'd like to see maybe another race in Canada, whether it be Toronto or Montreal at the Cup level. I think that would be pretty cool to see. Maybe race the streets of Toronto where the IndyCar Series races. Got to cross them fingers. You just never know, right? So Joey, this is his second win of 2019, and he was on the door. He was knocking on this. He was on the door. He was ready to burst through. He's had some pretty impressive weeks, defending that championship gracefully as a gazelle. So Penske, this is their fifth win of 2019. They're a little behind Gibbs, but Gibbs, granted, it's got two juggernauts in Truex and Kyle Busch. These guys are doing more with less. Sometimes in a world that stresses we need to do more, we got to do less, right? So that's what Penske's doing. This is his first win since Vegas in March, so he's been, like I said, really trying to figure out how to get, and he's at the speed. He couldn't close the deal and finish. But Joey's back in the winner's circle, and this is his fifth top five in the last 8 races, 7 top 10s in that race span. So he's doing really well. Points leader going into Sonoma. Wins this race from the pole. This is his third Michigan win. So they've got this place figured out, and a place that Ford really. It's the urgence of Ford. I think Ford wants to win a lot of races anytime they're in Michigan. So he's got 2 top 5s in the last 4 Sonoma races. So if you're looking ahead to Sonoma, hasn't quite had the road course success that, well, both drivers haven't. But I think now when we talk about road courses, and we talked a lot about road course ringers in the past, you bring in a Max Pappas, a Boris Said, Ron Fellows, the Canadian driver, Jacques Villeneuve, or whomever, someone who you thought, Tom Hubert for a long time, Tommy Kendall. List could go on and on and on. Wally Dallenbach was a great road course driver. There's not, I think, a testament and a credit to a lot of the NASCAR drivers that they can race the road course now. It's not one of those things where a ringer will come in and steal one. Any of the 30-some competitors out there now can win, and has done really well on road courses. And this is his 23rd career win of his career, so he's moving up there in wins, Joey, and he's made a lot of history. I think he's won the most amount of races by the time he was 30 years old, I believe was the stat, or under 30, something like that I read. I know my stats are pretty good, but I'm not always on top of things as I should be. But I think it was something he made history tying Richard Petty or Jeff Gordon with the amount of wins he's had and the amount of time, I guess, or something along the nature of that. But really cool. And now he is he's 23rd. He's 40. He's on that all-time wins list. He ties Ricky Rudd. He led 163 of these 200 laps. So just a phenomenal race for him. Everything was clicking. And I think Joey is going to go into the summer again having a strong summer. I expect him to have a strong summer. I think he'll have a lot of success, and Penske's going to continue to keep being a click behind JGR, because JGR is really, they got the 4 teams. Penske's only got the 3, but you could say Paul Menard's a satellite team to Penske with the Wood brothers, but they're just a middle-of-the-pack team. Call it for what it is, and it's nothing on Paul. I think Paul was a driver who's been very fortunate to stay in the series for as many years as he has, and Ryan Blaney's got to figure out how to step up to the next level. I think he shows such great poise and potential, but he's just not quite there yet as far in terms of closing in. And he had that win at the Roval. That was pretty cool, but I just don't know about Ryan Blaney. I think in his future, I think needs more time or whatever the case may be, but for some other reason, they're a tick behind the other two drivers, and we'll see what happens here for Ryan. But Penske, 5th win, 2019. Joey Logano, is he the man to challenge Kyle Busch for that championship? I think he's made a great argument and a great case for that at Michigan. So it's the second Monday win in recent years. I remember the last time he went on Texas on a Monday back in 2014. And Kurt Busch, the runner-up. I know Kurt would have loved to have won. He broke through at Michigan a few years back when he won his first race in a long time when he was with Stewart-Haas Racing. Second, this is the best finish of the year. Nice run-up finish for him. First top 5 since that race at Bristol where he was second as well. So this is the second runner-up finish for him. Ties the best of the season. So it's reported now that this Kurt Busch Ganassi experiment has worked out fabulously for both. The one car hasn't won a race since 20. So this is a driver who wants to win. Obviously, he wants to keep that streak going of 6 consecutive years with at least one win. And this one car hasn't won in over a decade. Almost a decade. So they're working on an extension that would see him in another 1-year deal in the car in 2020. I have a feeling they're going to get that done. A lot of that will depend on Monster Energy, but I could see the success they've enjoyed this year, that would be a great fit for both the veteran driver and Ganassi, who, again, is always still looking for speed. And it sort of seems like it's a one-sided affair this year in the Ganassi organization, as you have Kyle Larson, who just, for whatever reason, just can't figure this out. And you have Kurt Busch, who has found the fountain of youth and is running extremely well. Needs, I think, to capitalize more speed on those great, because they have a lot of speed this year. But those great runs, you got to capitalize on them. He's only they have to find a little bit more. He's only at 31 laps all year, so they're there in the top 5. They're there in the top 10, but they just don't have the speed in the end to get up there and challenge for the wins. I know he's got 2 runner-up finishes, but you got to convert on those. And I think Kurt will win this year in this car, but Ganassi's got to do their part too. And this is still a team figuring it out. I think this team has taken a big step back in recent years. And the only 2 top 5s. I think when you get those kind of races, the 2 top 5 finishes from a team that, didn't record many last season. So he's looking for that. And I think they'll find a way to win this year. I really think so. And he wants to keep that streak alive of winning at least one race in the last 6 years. And in other news for Kurt, he's got the two top 5s this year. He's he has 2 top 5s. He's 2 top 5s away from tying the season total of last year. I had to read my notes here. Of a 6, so he's very close to tying that. I think he'll do that. So he's having a really quietly great season. I know he had a great season last year in his final season with Stewart-Haas, and he's got to keep that momentum going. I would expect they will come to an agreement, and we'll see Kurt Busch in the one car in 2020, but you never can tell. We don't even know what's going on with Kyle Larson in that car. And is Larson better fitted for things other than Cup? I know he won a sprint car race this week and was dominant in it, and seems to really fancy the sprint cars. Could that be something where Kyle Larson, like maybe Casey Kane does, walks away from this and just turns his attention to sprint cars? I know it's a little bit less taxing on the psyche, and maybe, I don't know, I just think maybe Kyle Larson, are we seeing the beginning of the end of this guy who maybe had a lot of potential and just for whatever reason it doesn't work out? I don't know. But Martin Truex Jr. here gets a 3rd place finish. Rebounds from the engine failure that cost him at Pocono. And he had a really good car at Pocono. But, it's Truex becoming the resident whiner. Again, he whined and complained about the final restart, that Joey got a good jump there in the overtime. And that maybe this was his race that he could have won. And then you see that, like, how he whined with David Reagan in Charlotte. And I thought, this is a sense of entitlement from this individual now. For a guy, as I said, was a middle-of-the-pack guy most of his career, enjoyed a lot of success, turned that Furniture Row team into an elite team, a sensational team. But you got to stop your bitching and whining that the world doesn't owe you, man. And I thought Logano did nothing on that restart wrong. And you even get beat by Kurt Busch. So it's not like you got beat by Logano in the final laps. It was a nose-to-tail finish. You got beat by another car. So what's your argument? What's your point here? That Kurt jumped the start? Was good? Did he get off to a restart that was not fair? Come on, Truex. You're just becoming the resident whiner. You think that the world owes you something that you are now because you stepped up. You're one of the elite drivers in the sport. You're talked about weekly. You're used to tasting the sweet thrill of victory. That doesn't entitle you to bitch and whine. You got beat, man, by someone with maybe a better car than you on one weekend. So this is just the latest chapter in the feud that started in Martinsville last year between Logano and Truex. Goes back as an extension of that JGR Penske rivalry we're seeing at this moment. Played out at Homestead as well, Richmond earlier this year, now here in Michigan. Truex Jr., you got to realize something. You're a great driver. I'll give you that. You have done such phenomenal work in that car, the 78 car, now the 19 car. You're going to get beat on occasion by better drivers. You're a great driver, and you've won a lot of races. But there's a lot of other great drivers out there, your teammates included, my friend. So don't forget, you can't win them all. And it just seems that every time you don't win, you're red hot about it and you're bitching about it. You're going to lose some. You're going to win some. But you got to take the losses just as gracefully as you take those victories. And I think that's something that I've seen a change in Truex. I don't know if I like it so much. But Daniel Suarez got a fourth place run. This is his second top five of 2009. And I know there's a lot of contract talk now about can he re-sign with Stewart-Haas for 2020. They said that he's confident he'll get back there. It all depends again on Aris and the Haas automation. It underfunded the sponsorships for these teams as well as Stewart-Haas Racing has done. They have the uncertainty of your sponsors and if you can put a guy back in this car. But as a group, Stewart-Haas Racing still chasing their tail here. They're winless in 2019. Did not look very strong, with the exception here of Suarez at Michigan. Who wins, man? I don't know. Is Sonoma something? They could go into the second half, which would be Daytona winless. And that's not due to no fault of their own. We said Penske and JGR just had really good cars. But Stewart-Haas, you got to step that up. But Suarez, I think, is now showing, he's still getting comfortable, but he's showing a lot of progress in this car. A lot of, again, the word potential, but he will probably be back, I'd say. I can't see them giving up on him in one season into this. He's outrun some of his teammates, and in this case, this very day, outran them all and had a great finish. Deserves another shot, I think. So Harvick finished the 7th, started 3rd, only leads 15 laps. Very un-Harvick-esque. Eric Almirola started 2nd, 17th. So these guys are falling back in points as well. They're just for some reason, he's 11th, Almirola. Start off the year, looked like he was having a breakthrough season, continuation of last year. Sort of hit that slump, and I think they have to figure this out. This is not a problem that's just with Harvick, and we focus so much on Harvick because Harvick was the leader of that group and the best car, arguably, for years out of that stable. But it's affecting the whole entire organization now. You're having a guy, Almirola, who started out with such poise and potential. Again, there's that word, but it's true. To build upon what he created last year, such the hype, and there was talks about even him being in the Final Four, that he could have went on and won the championship based on that Talladega win. There was so much momentum in the 10 camp. They got to figure this out. If they got to swap crews, whatever the case may be, there's a problem here. There's something amiss at Stewart-Haas Racing. And the top 6 in the first, top 10s, 6 of the first 7 races, last 8, only 2. The 10 car is falling on some hard times. And Clint Boyer, who starts 5th, finishes 31st, gets collected in a crash at lap 31. Ironically enough, another tangle with Eric Jones, the 20 car, and wherever you see the 20 car, like, you know how it is in racing. Sometime whenever you'll see one car, you'll see the other. They had a couple issues there a few weeks back at Kansas, so here we go, 20 car, 14 car involved in something again. Clint did a post-race interview, so was very dejected. And I know he was upset last week at Pocono that they got to get these stage points, and I think that's a good point. He had a great point last week, valid points, that this team will not be competitive. And if they look really good, the 14 car at times has looked phenomenal on that track. But if you're not cashing in on those stage points, you're not going to get it in the victory. You're not going to get in the winner's circle. You're not going to be in there and involved in the end when it comes to the championship. It's what they got to do. They have to really get themselves in peak position here to win. It's just not happening. For whatever reason, things are just not happening for Stewart-Haas Racing. And they got to correct that. Probably got to set the ship sailing right soon. There, I almost get tongue-tied again. My goodness gracious. What am I going to do? Good grief. So Kyle Busch, 5th place finish. 3rd consecutive top 5. He was going for number 5. He's going to reach that soon. Remember that big comeback when he had Sonoma 2015? He had one more in them. Kyle's got so much potential this year to run away with the season, and he's leading the way again. Won the Chicago race last July. 2-time Sonoma winner. Last one there in 15. That was epic. Second, he has 2 wins at Daytona. He was second at the 5. He has 1 win, at Daytona in the July race of 2008. He was second in the 500 this year. 3 really good tracks coming up. Win number 5 out of those 3 races. It's a possibility. Kyle Busch, man, I think, 56 wins. He's almost there. Closing in on 60. God. Just mind-blowing when you think of this. Brett Keselowski. He's keeping pace, 6th place run here in Michigan. He never seems to run that well at his home track. I know he'd love to win there, but 3 top 10s in the last 4 races. 2 of those are top 5s. He's 3rd in the points, doing his best effort. I said Keselowski and Busch. I think that's the rivalry. That's the battle that everybody wants to see play out for the rest of the year. Ryan Blaney here, another Penske guy, 9th place run. This is his first top 10 since Bristol. So it's just tough to see that Blaney's got to catch up. We talked about that. He's got to get there with Penske and Keselowski, with the rest of them, Logano, his Penske teammates, and get himself in the winner's circle. I think once you get that albatross around your neck off, you get the winner. You get the win in the winner's circle. It's all going to fall into place, and fairly quickly, I'd say. And Paul Menard, despite the struggles and inconsistent runs, gets himself a good finish here as well. He's got to keep pace with those guys, man. I think it's just he's 9th in points. Ryan Blaney as well, somehow. Despite all this inconsistency, he's still in the thick. I think he will be in the playoffs when this is all over with, and it's going to be good for him. I just feel like there's lots to look forward to for Ryan Blaney. You just got to get that win. Alex Bowman, his 10th place run for him. This is his 5th top 10 in the last 6 races. Breakout season. He's coming to his own. I think there's no more questions about the ability that Hendrick made the right choice when they hired him to fill the seat that Earnhardt Jr. vacated. But a little bit of a blow to them this year, despite their great run. Their sponsorship is going away at the end of the year. We'll talk about that later. So he's on the verge of his first career win. You lose the sponsorship, and so now going forward, how do you build upon this? How does Alex Bowman overcome this year, and how do you keep a brave face? Well, what you do is, Alex, you can't let this get to you. You got a lot of potential to be a big star in this sport. You've shown, given the right opportunity, you can run up front and challenge for wins. So that's phenomenal. And I see just nothing but good things to come for Alex Bowman. Perform well for the rest of the year. You're going to attract sponsorship. That's not going to be an issue. But don't let the news of Nationwide moving on derail your season. You've had a phenomenal year. Build upon that and attract sponsorship for next season that you can call your own, really. And, a lot of people still see Nationwide as Dale Jr. sponsor, longtime supporter of him. And they're still going to remain in some capacity with marketing with Earnhardt Jr. It's just a personal sponsor, so they're not really going to leave completely, but they're not going to sponsor the 88 car in 2019. But it's just tough. It's too bad, and we'll have to wait and see for next year for Alex Bowman if he can attract that sponsorship. But I feel like he's going to grab a win before the end of the year, put himself nicely in that playoff picture. So let's do it now. Let's just talk about it. So Nationwide is leaving. So we're going to touch on that, and we're going to read a statement here. This is the statement that came out, the press release this week. Might as well stay on topic, and we'll stick with this since it's a hot topic. Here's what came out via NBC Sports. So it says, Nationwide Insurance will end sponsorship Hendrick Motorsports after the season. Team is confirmed the Nationwide primary sponsor of Alex Bowman's 88 Chevrolet and has been a sponsor of Hendrick since 2014. And it sponsored Dale Jr. at September in Richmond, and Nationwide became the regular primary sponsor in 2015. The move by Nationwide was first reported by the Sports Business Journal. Nationwide said in a statement that the decision is a result of adjusting our marketing resources to ensure that we'll be aligning to new business priorities. Bowman is in his second full season in the 88 car. He is 10th in the standings and has 3 top 5s this year, all runner-up finishes. Nationwide has been with primary sponsor Bowman's car for 10 of the first 15 races, and owner Rick Hendrick said in a statement that Nationwide's departure will not impact Bowman's future with the team. He's a big part of their team, and he is signed through 2020. And here's the Rick Hendrick statement. We understand the changing dynamics of business, and we're grateful for the entire team at Nationwide for their wonderful partnership over the past 5 years. Whether it's been winning races, competing in the NASCAR playoffs, or our recent on-track performance, we have accomplished so much together. Off the track, we have just been successful from collaborating on national advertising campaigns to support the important mission of Nationwide Children's Hospital. It has been a pleasure to work with all their people and to help drive Nationwide's business forward. Alex Bowman is having a great breakout and showing the world just how talented he is. He signed through next year and will be a big part of our future. The momentum we're building as the sport is due in large to part of NASCAR leadership and a unique combination of emerging personalities like Alex, establishing stars and exciting shows our racing is putting on. There's tremendous confidence in the product we have to offer to our fans and partners. And here's Alex's statement. I owe a lot to Nationwide. They wanted me as their driver and have supported me from the beginning, which I can't thank them enough for. I'm proud to represent them and have a lot of appreciation for all the awesome people I've met and worked with. I couldn't be more positive about my 88 team and what the future holds for us beyond and this year and beyond. I know we're just scratching the surface, and I'm pumped for what's ahead. We appreciate the role Nationwide has played in our success. And here's a statement from Nationwide, the insurance giant. Since 2015, Nationwide has had the pleasure of being the primary sponsor of the 88 team, first with Dale Earnhardt Jr. as the driver and then Alex Bowman. In that time, the platform has played a valuable role in building Nationwide's brand, sharing with NASCAR fans our noble purpose of protecting what matters most to our members and raising money and awareness for Nationwide Children's Hospital in Columbus, Ohio. As Nationwide's business needs evolve, we are adjusting our marketing resources to ensure that we are aligning to those new business priorities. With that in mind, we have informed Hendrick Motorsports of our decision to step away from sponsoring the 88 team at the end of the year. We have not made this decision lightly, given our 20-plus year involvement with NASCAR and our deep appreciation for Rick Hendrick, Alex Bowman, and Hendrick Motorsports, and the millions of NASCAR fans who have engaged with over the years. Nationwide will continue to leverage our sponsorship for the rest of 19 and to have many special activations planned in 2020. We plan a partnership to select NASCAR races to continue our relationship with Dale Earnhardt Jr. We'd like to thank Mr. Hendrick and for a wonderful 5 years and wish him and the entire NASCAR organization the very best in their future endeavors. Jeez, the future endeavors, eh? So looking back on that, I think it is a lot of it's a big venture. It's expensive to sponsor one of these teams. I think a lot of people don't realize, the casual fans out there or people who are just looking from afar, that what really goes into sponsoring these teams and putting these teams on the track each year. And it's a lot of big sponsors have left the sport in recent years. This is definitely a huge impact to the Hendrick team. I know, but Alex Bowman, a lot of things were talked about, and not his ability when he took over this, the reins of this car, but the marketing. And I don't think Earnhardt Jr. had such a great marketing relationship with Nationwide, and him and Danica Patrick were involved in some of the advertisements. Peyton Manning, we know, Brad Paisley, the country star, they're legendary with the jingle, Nationwide is on your side. We all know those jingles. We see them in the media, and they're making this decision. I think it's a tough one, but I think I saw the writing on the wall there. I just didn't know if Bowman, he was not really featured in any of their marketing, and I think Alex has to start off with a sponsor that fully invested in him. And it still says, if you look at it, it still feels like the 88. And that's the remnants of making the 88. And that's where it has to go. I think the remnants of that sponsorship still ties that 88 to Dale Earnhardt Jr. Alex got to make the 88 his own. And bringing in a new brand to do that will kind of make everyone forget that this is the car that once was piloted by the most popular driver, arguably, in our sport. So a little bit of Xfinity news now, and Tyler Reddick just continues to march towards Xfinity greatness. I can't remember a time when one driver was so particularly dominant in a season, not just in Xfinity, but in any form of autosports. Jeff Gordon comes to mind, Kyle Busch, but what Reddick is doing here is he's building himself as a future star. And I just hope there's no letdown once he makes that transition to the Cup Series. But I don't think there's a rush to make that transition either. I think he'll end up, based on this phenomenal run, and if he captures himself another championship this year, he's Cup ready, and there's going to feel that need to push him through. But we've seen that with Xfinity champions in the past that, have been so dominant and have had such success in that series and come to Cup and shit the bed. I hope this doesn't happen to Reddick. But this is his third win of 2019. This streak continues of 10 consecutive top 5 finishes. 6 career wins. Only 5 behind his rival now. 6 career wins away from his rival here of catching 11. And that's Mr. Christopher Bell. I'm not made about Christopher Bell's phenomenal rise through the rankings. How about Tyler Reddick? Unlikely champion a year ago. And I remember this. I remember in November of 2018 when he was in the Final Four, I kind of said, wow, if this guy can pull this off, this is a major, major upset. And then I saw he did that. I was like, wow, that's the upset of the century. He's on pace for a career year. Already surpassed his top 5 total from a year ago. 11 top 5s. 7 this year. 7 only in 2018. 8 away from the total at top 10s a year ago. It's just unbelievable season. What more can you say? JR Motorsports had a big day at Michigan. Noah Gragson finished second place, his career best. This is his third consecutive top 10. He seems to be coming in his own lately. I think a lot was made of Gragson when he was with Kyle Busch Motorsports. Had a lot of success in the trucks. It was expected to transition immediately to the Xfinity Series. Didn't quite work out that way, but he's working his way up, and I think he's showing a lot of promise in that car. Michael Annett, third place run for him, his best finish since this Daytona win. 4 consecutive top 10 finishes in for the veteran driver, so he's having a respectable season. He's playoff bound. I think Michael Annett is one of those guys that kind of got lost in the shuffle years ago, had an unsuccessful run in Cup. Finding himself this year, sort of a career renaissance for him, so it's good to see all the junior motorsports cars running well. Justin Allgaier gets a 5th place run, his third top 5 in the last 4 races. And Jeb Burton, let's talk about Jeb here for a minute, the son of Ward Burton, former Daytona 500 winner. 9th place run. He always has great runs when he's running for junior motorsports. All 3 starts this year have ended in top 10 finishes. I think he's got to be given an opportunity. I think this is someone, depending on what JR Motorsports does, they seem to change their driver lineup quite frequently, and Justin Allgaier is going to get some looks for some Cup teams. We know that. This could be an opportunity for Jeb to get in good with this team full time. I think he hasn't been given the proper platform to showcase his talent. He had that really one-off year in 2015 when he jumped to the Cup Series a little prematurely with BK Racing. And I think there's just that thrill and there's that desire to get the Cup. So at the time, BK Racing was taking in a lot of the younger drivers, and it's no fault of their own. I think BK is a wonderful organization. They just couldn't quite make it at the level of Cup, and it hurt a lot of careers. Let's face it for what it is, and unfortunately, a lot of these younger drivers are now left to figure out. Alex Bowman's bounced back nicely from it, Matthew B. Benedetto. So it's not impossible to see that, but his real highlight of his career, I think his career's been rushed, Jeb. He won in 2013 in the Truck Series at Texas, and he was off to the races. He was 5th in the points, 8th in 2014. For whatever reason, I think he needed more seat time in the trucks or even a full-time shot at the Xfinity Series. The rushing him up the Cup with BK, it just fizzled. I think that's really sidetracked him, and let's hope Jeb is one of those. We're seeing a lot with Jeffrey Earnhardt. It's never too late to resurrect your career, and I think that's, given Jeb Burton's age and limited experience in any of the 3 series, I think there's still time for Jeb Burton to enjoy success in NASCAR and keep that legacy going, the Burton name. You have Harrison, Jeff's son, in there as well, making a name for himself. So it's good to see that the Burton brothers, 2 sons, are having great success and continuing to live up to the Burton name in NASCAR. So recently, Parker Kligerman and A.J. Allmendinger discussed on the NASCAR America's Motorsports Hour who can challenge the Big 3. So we're talking about the Big 3 a lot last year in Cup. Ironically enough, this year there's a Big 3 in Xfinity in Christopher Bell, Cole Custer, and Tyler Reddick. So Justin Allgaier was someone that was discussed. He's a vet driver. Since his return to the series on a full-time basis in 2016, he's won 9 races in that time frame. 5 a year ago, and a career high in 2018. And he was 3rd in the points in 17 and 16. So I think the new format is what really cost him the championship last year. Had it been the old format, he was going to be well on his way to a title. I think he's going to get some looks for some Cup teams in the offseason if someone is making some adjustments, some changes. He did run Cup before with Harry Scott. It didn't work out. That shouldn't deter him, but he went back to the Xfinity Series to hone his craft and caught a great deal with JR Motorsports and is in the title picture pretty much every year. But I think he won Iowa a year ago. I think he's going to get red hot down the stretch in the summer, and he's likely the most ideal candidate to challenge those 3 big drivers for the championship. But also Noah Gragson, we'll put him in there. He seems to be getting very comfortable coming off a career best and high of the season at Michigan, a 2nd place. So he's getting better each week. I think he's adjusting to the new team. I expect to see good things out of Noah. He had a lot of success in the Truck Series with Kyle Busch, and Justin Haley's another Truck standout that's quietly enjoying a great season, solid season, just running with an underfunded team that, doesn't get the exposure of the Custer or Reddick or Christopher Bell, but it's got 1 top 5 and 10 top 10s in the season. So Justin Haley, and he got a Cup start in Talladega out of it this year, and John Hunter Nemechek, the lineage there. Joe Nemechek is the former 92 Xfinity champion. He won a race last year. He was 2nd this year at Las Vegas. He's quietly also putting together a pretty solid season. He's got the 2 top 5s, 9 top 10s. Just needs to put it all together. He's a little inconsistent in some of his results if you look across the board, but I think John Hunter Nemechek is another driver that's going to get a lot of attention from potential Cup owners in the next couple of years, and has that sort of that connection to Chip Ganassi Racing. I think that could be, we talked about it on this program, could be a candidate for the number 42 car somewhere down the line if indeed Kyle Larson is no longer the driver of that car. And Chase Briscoe, I think, in my opinion, we're going to see a lot of the Chase Briscoe best of the bunch that's not considered in the Big 3, I think. 3rd at Pocono. He won at the Roval last year, breakthrough win for him. They have the affiliation with Stewart-Haas Racing, the 98 team. 6 top 5s, 10 top 10s. I think he's going to get, he impresses me every week, continues to get better. He's rolling here, and I think he's going to win real soon. And I think out of all those drivers we just talked about, on that Allmendinger and Kligerman discussed his potential, I think Chase Briscoe is the best of the bunch, and I think Kligerman brought that up. Lots of potential for Briscoe. I think he will be a part of that Final Four. He's going to have a shot at winning that championship, and he's someone that, again, keep your eye on. I think he's going to spend a couple more years probably at the Xfinity level, but will get some looks from Cup owners, no doubt, in the next year or two. So other Xfinity news, Jeff Green, the veteran driver, will miss the second half of this year, starting at the July 12th race at Kentucky. He's going to have rotator cuff surgery. Will return to the team as on a crew chief, at the capacity of a crew chief at the next Iowa event in July. And Ryan Sieg Racing has said that he may return to the wheel of that car, depending on sponsorship in 2020. And as we all know, Jeff is the 2000 Series champion who dominated at the number 10 car with Greg Pollock's Nesquik sponsorship. 18 on the all-time wins list, 16 career wins. He's second on the all-time career starts list through, he'll have 527 through Iowa. And that's second to Kenny Wallace, who has 547. So realistically, Jeff makes the return next season. Should become the all-times leader in starts in the series. And I know people, okay, there was an Instagram account. I can't remember the account. I tried to find it prior to the recording of this episode, where they pretty much, it was reported, and, it's news. And then you got the comments from idiots who, Jeff Green is still in there. I know it's a start and park. He does run occasionally well at Talladega and Daytona, where hell breaks loose and a smaller market team could win. But it's so savage that you attack Jeff Green. Oh, and it was a comment, that's going to have some serious playoff. Come on, playoff implications. They're not running for the championship. They're collecting the points. If it is a start and park, Green is still there. I don't think there's that debate. Yes, does him being involved in the series this many years later diminish, the quality and legacy where he won that championship in dominant fashion in 2000? At that point was the widest margin in Xfinity Series history, and you'll all whine and complain about it. If he's still out there, Morgan Shepherd's still out there. There's a lot of guys out there that, if start and park is their thing, they're still getting a paycheck. Whatever the case, it's their livelihood. Well, who are you to shit on that and make complaints? Okay, just stop the bad jokes. He's not in the championship picture. He has won a championship. He's still, maybe he enjoys it. I don't know, but to really rip him apart like that, I thought it's just poor taste. Who cares if he's there or not? And who cares if it's even at a start and park capacity? He's still in the sport. You're not in the sport. So to attack Jeff Green like that, I just think was low and in really poor taste. I didn't like it. Just letting you know, I didn't like it. So attack him all you want. Do it. He doesn't probably care. He's out there driving, making a living. He's doing well. End of story. And I hope he is back next year. It'd be pretty cool to see him become the all-time career starts leader in the Xfinity Series. And he's a veteran of the sport and has enjoyed a lot of success. He could even steal one. You never know. Talladega, Daytona next year. Would not be the joke on those people. He would make the playoffs in that respect, would he not, people? Come on. Just thought the comments were stupid, and not nice to say don't say nothing at all. So Greg Biffle, speaking of veteran drivers making an impact, he wins his truck start, his one-off at Texas last Friday. 2 Fridays ago, actually. So career wins 17. He's 8th on the all-time wins list, tied there with Ted Musgrave. Could this be a potential? I know it has been talked about. I don't know if Greg's been asked directly, but this could be a potential for a comeback. I think he could run a couple more races in the trucks at the end of the year. And nice to see a veteran return. If he were to return at some capacity, I know maybe might be some desire still to run Cup. I don't know. Xfinity, but Greg Biffle in the winner's circle. Not a big surprise, but was racing there with Stuart Friesen at the end. Friesen goes for a wild ride, hits the wall. Biffle's victorious. Great stats for Kyle Busch Motorsports. They continue. Not sure what it is, if there's going to be a comeback in his future, but pretty cool to see him come in after almost a 3-year hiatus and get in the winner's circle. So good for Greg, and hopefully we see more out of the Biff. by the end of the year. And the final topic we're going to cover and close out was K&N West. I know we don't talk about the K&N West series much, only when one individual is involved in a storyline. And I'll admit, I'm a huge Hailie Deegan mark. I am excited. I am pumped to see Hailie Deegan move up the ranks, run the Xfinity series of the Truck Series, and do really well. Maybe the Cup Series one day. But Hailie wins her third career race in this series. Wild finish at Colorado. Second of the season in 19. It's now second in the point. She bumps Derek Kraus, her teammate, out of the way for the win. And, you know, a lot was criticized about, again, a lot of criticism came of this win. Hailie, people say it was unsportsmanlike. She's got it coming next time, and rightfully so. That's fair. If Derek Kraus is in the position to bump her when they're racing for the win, of course he's going to do it. All racing aside, racing hard racing, but teammates in the final lap, there's no teammates. You're racing for yourself. And I get Deegan is making a lot of history here. Has potential to be one of the most successful females in all of stock car. And a lot of people are going to make that Danica Patrick comparison. And I don't want to hurt Danica's credibility. And a lot of the idiots on Racing Reference. It's so lame that all you assholes hide behind a keyboard and can rip apart people like Danica Patrick or even Hailie Deegan here. Comparing Deegan and Patrick is unfair. Two different eras. I know Danica's not a elder stateswoman. She's still fairly young and probably could still race today. But Danica cut her teeth in the IndyCar series and was starting to only find her footing there when she got the offer to come to Nascar with Junior Motorsports in the Xfinity series, then known as the Nationwide. She never reached the heights that maybe a lot of us. I thought she would probably win a Cup race, maybe an Xfinity race. It never happened, and that's nothing on Danica. Danica was, and in Deegan's the same thing. You're gonna all say, but the marketing. Hailie Deegan brings in credible personal sponsorship for Monster Energy. Napa's firmly behind her. Her dad, Brian Deegan, is one of the big names in freestyle off-road racing, and has made quite a name for himself through the years. And you know you're going to say that, but there's talent there. Greg Alding was singing the praises of Hailie Deegan long before we even knew who Hailie Deegan was. So to compare her with Danica, don't do it. It's not. And you get that. It goes back to eras like LeBron and Michael Jordan in basketball. You can't compare the two drivers from different eras in the same conversation of greatest of all time or greats, or even who's better than who. I'm going to protect Danica on this one. To say that Hailie Deegan is going to surpass Danica Patrick and become a better driver, best female driver in motorsports or stock car, not fair. I think Hailie Deegan is going to do great things. Danica Patrick did some great things. That part of her chapter of her career is over. I think Deegan is going to get a look from Xfinity teams, truck teams, and then people and your Racing Reference comments showing her true colors. Well, you got to put yourself in that. There was contact, yes. It's for the win. Deegan could make history and become the K&N Series champion here. And Derek Kraus is a great driver. Championship driver. Why are we faulting Hailie for trying? It's to make history, but it's not even just history. It's Hailie Deegan as a driver. I don't even see her as a female. Forget she's female for a moment. She's a phenomenal talent and deserves to enjoy the success. And then even at the ARCA race, she got kind of lambasted in that ARCA race a couple weeks back. Hailie Deegan's good, man. And I really like Hailie Deegan. I think she's going to do a lot of good things in her sport. And I think instead of hating on her and criticizing Hailie for enjoying success, I think this is something to marvel at. And I would hope to God she wins some more races. She's going to win more races. She's got a lot of talent. She could become the K&N West champion this year. Her and Derek Kraus, it's going to go right down to the end. And that's a battle that we could even see in the Xfinity series and truck series in years to come. It's good for the sport. It's good that there's healthy young talent making their way up the ranks. And I think nothing but good things for Hailie. And I am a huge fan, and I'd love to see her move up sooner than later. So that's going to do it for me. I'm going to wave the checkered flag on this edition of Super Fantastic Above Average Racing Spectacular. I do thank you for listening. Got some things to talk about next week. Sonoma, the road course. First half is almost complete in the season. NASCAR Metro Energy Cup Series. Chicago's coming up. Daytona's always wild, right? So lots of excitement. I think we're going to see good things out of Penske, more good things out of Penske, more good things out of JGR. Maybe Stewart-Haas Racing will figure it out. Hendrick will continue. Maybe Alex Bowman will be in the winner's circle. Maybe we'll see an upset. Maybe we'll see someone we don't expect. JT Doherty's guys. Ryan Preece, Chris Buescher, Ryan Newman. Maybe he's got one more win in him for Roush Fenway. But anyhow, this will conclude our episode today. I do thank everyone for listening. And until next week, I will see ya.